The following is a special presentation of Tony Kurre Radio.
Welcome, everybody. It's time for another edition of Keefer and Kurre. And here we are. I'm looking right at him on my screen. I've been gone for a week, so I haven't seen those shiny eyes and the big smile, but glad to be with Tony as always. If you're new to the show, Keefer and Kurre, Tony and I just kind of kick around whatever's on our mind, and I had something today. Tony usually...
Lovely.
All disclosure, Tony, I got to give you credit. Tony usually comes up with the topic because I say, I don't care anything you want to talk about. Today, I told Tony I've got a subject I want to talk about. And let me give you a quick preface as to why. I got on a plane yesterday at 2 o'clock Pacific time, Southwest flight direct to Birmingham, which God bless America. That's awesome. We got up in the air. My son poked me and said, well, you know, you can get on the Wi-Fi and watch the last round of the Masters. Mm-hmm. Oh, shoot, I forgot about that. I didn't forget about the Masters. I've watched the last round of the Masters religiously. My mother-in-law almost killed me because I was an hour late for Easter dinner one year, but it was like a sudden death. There's no way I was leaving the TV. Anyway, God bless America, Tony. I'm on my iPad watching the final round of the Masters at 30,000 feet yesterday over Utah or New Mexico or somewhere. And the drama that unfolded was so amazing. So I thought that would be a good place to start. But I want to talk today about, on Keefer and Kurre, and get your opinions, the greatest stages in the country or even the world for that matter. What are the greatest venues? What are the greatest places where memorable sports places happen? Because I would contend Augusta National Golf Course ranks right up there. And what we saw yesterday with Rory McIlroy finally winning it after 17 tries. 11 years ago, Tony, he won his third major. So he was only trying to become, this is an amazing statistic to me. He was only trying to become the fourth guy to ever win all four major tournaments, not in a year, because that would be a true Grand Slam, which has never been accomplished. But he was trying to become the sixth, I should say, career Grand Slam winner. And you would think of all the great golfers there have been that there would be more than five that had won every one. Gene Sarazen, Ben Hogan, Gary Player, Jack Nicklaus, Tiger Woods, and now Rory McIlroy finally getting his Masters. But I don't know how many people watch it. I don't know if you got a chance to tune in. The back nine yesterday at the Masters was the most unbelievable up and down ride because everybody was rooting for Rory McIlroy to get this. He's an Irish guy. It wasn't a patriotic or USA thing. He's just a really popular figure in golf and has done everything but win the Masters. He's won Ryder Cups. He's won a gold medal at the Olympics. But he just it eluded him his whole career in 17 previous tries. And for him to get it done yesterday in the fashion that he did, he would make a spectacular shot, take the lead, completely screw up the next hole. And that's the stage. You always hear the thing in sports. I'm going to let you talk a bit, I promise. You always hear the terminology. There's nothing like the back nine on Sunday at the Masters. Man, was that proved out yesterday. And it's the venue, Tony. It's the way it's laid out. It's the ultimate risk reward in sports. If you go for it, you could be a glorious hero, or you could just be humbled and driven to your knees because there's so many places you can just lose the whole deal. It was phenomenal drama. It was an unbelievable thing to watch. He finally wins it after blowing it on 18 and making a bogey, hitting it inexplicably from just 150 yards into the trap. He tries to get up and down. He misses a 4-footer to win it, but he does come back and win it in the first overtime, the first playoff hole. It was phenomenal. And Augusta delivers every single solitary year.
He falls to his knees and he just let the tears just fly out of his brain. It was so good to see because he's such an emotional guy. You know, I love Rory. And there was a TV commercial. I forget what it was, but they would say, "What's your story, Rory?" And I was all the time I Rory go, Rory, what's your story, Rory? So I was waiting to see what's going to happen. Yeah, Ober sit there, on number 16 with a chance to make a putt, actually take the lead, and then he blows up on 17. He's going like that Tony Curry golf from one side of the green to the other side, back and forth to get a 7. He ends up getting five over in his last 2 holes. It was amazing, and I've never seen the roar of the crowd. The roar of the crowd's always good when you see that final putt, but how about when they're changing the red numbers? You heard the crowds go crazy, particularly when he made his huge putt, probably at 17, 18 feet on, of course, number 18 to put him at 11 under to actually get the tie. He had to make that putt to go to overtime
to have a chance
on that particular thing. So, it was fantastic. I'm not a big golf fan on television. I like to play. I'll play a lot of tournaments. I very rarely play on my own ball because I'm not good enough to play on my own ball. I'd love to break 90 someday, but I certainly enjoy getting out and enjoying a full day of wonderful golf. To watch it on television, it's a great nap sport for me. And what I mean by that is it's very comforting. A nap thing is good. I watch the Discovery Channel when I fall asleep. It's something that I can kind of fall asleep. I don't get all riled up on it. But yesterday there was no napping during those last 4 or 5 holes. It was unbelievable.
Oh.
And again, the way Rory did it, you mentioned the fact the 17th time playing, those other golfers who, of course, got the Grand Slam, they all did it in 3 or less shots. In other words, they won their first three rounds, or their first 3 Grand Slam events within those 3 years. Then, of course, they got their final one. The third, he got in his 11th shot after getting the 3rd of the 4. And so, I hate to say it because my dad was 82 when he died, and he could hit a ball 175 yards straight down the middle. Now, he couldn't hit it anywhere else. And he beat me every single time because he could always hit a straight ball at the age of 82.
In play, yeah.
I could hit it 350 yards, but it was going in a creek or going 600 yards the wrong direction.
Or through somebody's kitchen window. Yeah.
But even Rory at his age, you start to think to yourself, okay, hey, listen, we got to get this done. And he's always just been nip and tuck. I thought for sure, when all he had to do when he makes the great putt on 17, when all he had to do was just par the final hole. I thought, okay, how difficult can this be? Because obviously he's Roy McIlroy, and of course, in his typical fashion, he could not make it easy on himself. He had to go to overtime and do the extra hole. Was just beautiful. It was fantastic, and I'm so happy for him. He's one of those guys that stood up for the PGA. Remember when the Live Golf Game thing came out? He was the one guy. He was the face of the PGA that came out and said, "No, we're not doing this. I don't like this. I don't want to play with these guys."
About the only European to do it.
The only guy to do that, and then of course made to look like a fool when the PGA behind his back actually made a deal with Live Golf, and he's like, "What just happened here?" Man, he was so heartfelt because from a moralistic and from an ethics standpoint, it was the right thing to do. So I will always remember that. But no, just a fantastic ending, and you could not have written a better script. I think it was. Was it Justin Rose? I think it was Justin Rose when I was sitting there looking at his numbers. He had 3 pars yesterday. Now, to show you how up and down that golf course is, you're like, wait a minute, they play 18 holes. He had 3 pars. That means 15 to the 8 holes. He either birdied, bogeyed, eagled, or double bogeyed.
Yes.
3 holes. You're supposed to par.
It's amazing.
If you par, you're doing okay. You're supposed to have par. On a typical day, you play 18 holes, you go 18 pars, you play par golf. That's why you have the numbers. He only had 3 pars all day long. That's how crazy it was. And what really made it interesting too, the course never looked better. The weather has never been better. The wind was perfect. It wasn't too stiff. It didn't blow behind. The greens were, everything was absolutely perfect. If you die and you go up to heaven and say, is there any place like Augusta up here in heaven? That's what you were playing on yesterday. That's how beautiful that golf course was. And I'm so glad that Rory won.
I've been so privileged to go to 4 Masters. My friend Joe Lippum in Atlanta, his family's had tickets since the 1950s when his dad was smart enough to acquire them. And I've been invited 4 times. I was there in 1997 when Tiger Woods had a win for the ages. He blew the field away. If you remember the note. the notable thing about that was the night before, Fuzzy Zeller, who was probably the most popular golfer in the country at the time, made the terrible mistake just trying to be funny of just absolutely killing his career. Remember, on his way out to the car, they're following me. He said, "Oh, do you think he was in second place? Is there any way you can catch Tiger?" He says, "Boy, the way that boy is playing, there's hardly any way I can think about catching up. So just tell him, we'll congratulate him, pat him back, and don't serve fried chicken at the champions dinner next year." And that slur, which wasn't even intended to be a slur, just reverberated. And poor Fuzzy Zeller went from being, America's most popular good old guy to just a pariah. So you got to be careful. But Tony, the thing is, and you made some really good points about it, just what the up and down scores, because that course, again, the back nine is so amazing. I could stand out there and wait all year to have a chance to be part of it, because if you set up shop at any place, you can try to follow around, but the crowds are so massive that you really can't get close if you do that. So the best strategy is to pick a spot and then try to rush ahead once they've passed you. When you get to Amen Corner, what a great name for that. Wonderful. It is in the corner of the golf course. It's the quietest place, but it also reverberates because the green at number 12 and the tee at number 13 are both pushed back in a corner. So that's the only place on the course there's no fans, because there's no access back there. Once you come off the green on 12, you go across the bridge and go to the tee at 13. But 12 is a 157-yard hole because of the way that's in the corner, and the trees are just monumental. The property for Augusta was once a nursery where they grew all kinds of plants and things. And Bobby Jones said, "This is a perfect place for a golf course," acquired the land, and you see the rest of it. It is the most pristine, beautiful place. You are absolutely right. Number 12 is a 157-yard hole. 157. I mean, any hacker would go, "Well, that's nothing." Well, it is something, because the front of the green is like a straight down slope, and it's slicker than a glass table. So if you're short, it's going to roll right back down there and go in the water. There's a lake right in front. There's a gigantic bunker on each side. There's a huge bunker on the back. So, you could say, "Well, I can just aim long. The worst I'm going to be is in the sand." Well, that's not good, because to hit out of the sand, you're going down a slope that's just goes like that. So that's going to feed into the water. So these guys, I've sat there and watched up close the best golfers in the world back off 3 or 4 times because they can't. The wind is going round and round. You don't know what the wind's doing. I mean, these guys, the whole terrifies these guys. So that's the first trap you've got to survive. Then you go to 13, which is a short par 5. If you blast it down there, you can easily get on the green in 2, but it's fraught with peril too. There's water, there's sand. And you saw McIlroy, who had a 4-shot lead when he went to 13 yesterday, try to play conservative. He just hit an easy 3-wood down the middle. Then he hit a 7-iron right to the base of the water. All he had to do was hit an 80-yard shot to the green, which these guys can do blindfolded. What does he do? The greatest golfer in the world. He shanks it. I mean, literally shanks it right into the lake.
80 yards.
And he double bogeys the hole. Meanwhile, Justin Rose makes a putt up ahead at 16. So the 4-shot deficit is now 1 in the space of 5 minutes. I mean, things change there so fast. He made putts to take the lead. He missed putts to blow the lead. I mean, it was just unbelievable drama. That, to me, is one of the greatest stages for sports that there is. I can't watch a regular golf tournament because it's just played on a golf course. The Masters is played at Augusta National. It's a completely different event.
No, it really is. And you've said so many things that are so poignant. It's amazing too, because it's the only sport where you can actually get as close as you want to your hero. When you're sitting, when you're at a baseball game, you're at a football game, you can buy the best seats in the house. There's a good chance you won't be within 100 yards of anybody you want to see. You can get the best seats in the house. You can sit right behind the dugout. You can get close, and you're going to pay for it. But in this particular day, you can follow whoever you want, whenever you want, and you can get as close as you possibly want. If you allow yourself enough time, if you want to get really, really close to whoever it is, then you could possibly do it. It's the only sport where you can do that, and that's amazing because you want to get as close as you possibly can. And when you can see the whites of a player's eyes, there's nothing like it. I had a friend of mine who took his son, his 11-year-old son, Thursday for the first time. He's got a friend of his. He's got tickets, and every fourth year the tickets come up. And like you said, it's a special thing. It's been in the family for like 30 or 40 years.
There's a waiting list of like 100,000 people.
It was his turn. And he gets the tickets on Thursday. Then he must give them to the next guy on Friday. He must give them to the next guy on Saturday. The next guy gets them on Sunday. So everyone gets a chance to go over the course of a period of time. And he said, it's so amazing. He said, and he's not a horticulturist, but he does like to take care of his lawn. He's one of those guys. That, he's out there with the tweezers, and he'll burn his lawn up at the end of fall to make sure that it comes back all green. He does everything right. And he does it all by himself. He'll go out there and he'll cut his grass with the riding lawnmower. Then he does the walk mower. Then he does it with the blade mower. I mean, he does it all. And he's like, Tony, he said, it was just amazing how well kept that golf course is. I've seen so many golf courses, been to Shoal Creek, played Greystone many times, of course, when we had the Greystone and, of course, the Bruno's Memorial Classic and all those great golf tournaments we've had up there. He said, but it's so amazing because, you can't find as many things that are flowering during this time of the year in this part of the country. He said, I couldn't find one dead flower. I was looking in the bushes.
It's unbelievable.
He goes, I couldn't find one flower that had a little brown edge on it. And he said it was the most amazing thing. He said what most golf courses, and he's got a friend of his that works there and does the ground crews, of all the golf courses he's seen, where most golf courses will spend an entire year preparing for one day, for one tournament. That's what they do after every round. So right after the last putt is made, as dusk comes on, those guys are out there from that point on till the next shot is made the following morning at 6:40, 6:45. They are out there snipping little pieces of wire and everything else and getting that golf course to make it look so it looks as beautiful. You would think with how many people walk that golf course and listen, when you trample an area for a long period of time, they also do a really great job of keeping the trampling down to a minimum. And that's obviously no one questions. You can question wherever you want. Right? There hasn't been a golf course I haven't taken a leak on. Augusta's not going to be one I do it on. You know what I mean? Every guy I've ever known has taken a leak on a golf course. You will never pee on at Augusta.
I think Mother Nature herself would strike you dead,
she would
even if it was not a cloud in the sky.
She would spit you out. And you don't even think about peeing on a golf course. And that's one place where everyone goes, sure, just go behind a tree, go pee. You don't know anyone that's ever going to pee at Augusta. But yeah, it's just amazing. And again, you and I have just been so blessed to talk and see some of the greatest sporting events in history. And that's one of those. I don't care if you never pick up a golf club in your life. It's just something to behold. And then to give us the kind of show that we had yesterday and to have a go at was just marvelous. It was wonderful.
Well, I can tell you to back up what you just said to start this. I was out at Augusta, and it was actually in '97 when Tiger won. There were just people everywhere. So really the game was to try and predict a spot where you could get to see him, up close. So we went ahead like 3 holes to where he was and positioned ourselves about 300 yards from the tee. I think it was on number 8, which is a long uphill par 5. So Joe and I are standing there, and you can see it's Tiger in his glowing red shirt on the tee. He blasts a shot, but it's hooking a little bit. We're on the left side of the fairway, and we actually have to be aware because the ball lands on the edge of the fairway about 10 feet short of us and rolls up almost right to our feet. We're out there, it's not just us. We've got a cluster of probably 75 people around us, but the ball was literally there. So here comes his caddy and him, and they come right to the ball. We have to back up a bit, of course, but we're no more than, the guy who's on top of the world now, leading by 8 strokes in the Masters, young Tiger Woods. We're no more than 15 yards from him, and close enough where you're hearing the conversation with him and his caddy. You talk about up close and personal. Mm-hmm. He had branches ahead of him. He had to hit a shot, and he said, well, you can play it way out, to the other side, and that's safe if you want to put it up around that bunker. And Tiger says, and I quote, "F it. I'm just going to hit a low nuker." He called it a nuker. "I'm going to hit a low nuker right at it. We're going to get it on the green." And damn, Tony, to see that, I mean, to hear the sound of that ball whiz past your ear when he just took that kind of slashing swing at it, just like he said, he hit this low missile that went under the limbs and just trajected, bounced once and bounced all on the green. It was an unbelievable experience to be that close and see that. And you can get on the tee boxes a lot of times and watch these guys prepare. Another Masters, Tiger and Phil were dueling down the stretch, and they came to number 14 tee, and we had set up there for the day pretty much because you can run real quick. The other thing about Augusta that people, and I'm so privileged and so pleased that I got a chance to go. When you watch it on TV, you have such better perspective. It's not a very big piece of property. So all the holes crisscross and intersect themselves. You're never far. If you're sitting on the tee box at 14, you can see what's happening on 13 green. It's right to your right. Or you can run under the grandstand next door and see 16, the whole par 3. I mean, it's all right there.
That's a big reason a lot of people love to have that golf course at Greystone when they did the Bruno's Memorial
Same
Classic.
thing,
because it's small enough you could play. And then, of course, when at the Ross Bridge, it was so wide open that if you were going to watch one hole, that was the only hole. But you're absolutely right. Greystone, and that there's a lot of similarities there. Obviously, you're not playing Augusta when you play Greystone, but you can't see multiple holes by one vantage point, which is a great point.
Yeah, and the scoreboard thing you mentioned is so many people set up for the entire day, like on 18 or on Amen Corner, and they have the giant scoreboards, and they still have guys behind there putting up the numbers in the little squares. It's not electronic. They have electronic boards at various places, but they've got 4 or 5 of the gigantic white Masters scoreboards. They got the plate with the guy's name, and they don't tell you what he made on the hole, but they go hole by hole. Like you said, 8 under, 9 under, 8 under, 7 under.
So they switch it every time. They switch it every number, even if the number doesn't change. So you know something's coming.
They got radios, and they get the report, and they put it up. And when somebody makes an eagle and all of a sudden jumps 2 strokes, the place goes crazy. I mean, it's just like, it's a completely different sporting event than anything I've ever been able to attend.
I want to show you something here real quick here. Let's see if I can handle this thing. So I don't have a lot of golf stories to tell, but as you can see, that is a beautiful.
Look at that.
That is a beautiful trophy there, and that is the best trophy. It weighs about 50 pounds. It weighs about 50
Tony
pounds.
Curry, U.S. Open champion. Way to go, Tony.
I got that trophy. We came in second place when I was in the Pro-Am at the Bruno's Memorial Classic, and Jim Thorpe was my pro. Do you remember Jim? He wore the cowboy hat, black man.
Absolutely.
By the way, he had the most beautiful white girls chasing him all day long. I'll never understand. He had the most beautiful young girls chasing him up and down the golf course. And I'd say, Jim,
he was a player.
I'd say, Jim, why do you have these? The ladies love the long ball. Tony, they love the long ball. He was one of the coolest guys. Of course, about a year later, he ended up going to prison for tax evasion. But he was. But I'll tell you a quick story, because whenever I hear these wonderful stories about golf. So the year before, Curtis Strange was playing, and he was our pro, and I had never played. I had been invited to play. I got asked numerous times to play over and over and over again, and people would go, why in the world would you not want to play in a Pro-Am? I was so stinking nervous. I was afraid I was going to kill somebody. And this is Tony Curry, right? I've ridden bulls. I've jumped out of airplanes. I've done the stupidest shit out there.
Sat on billboards.
For some reason, sat on billboards. I mean, I would do it all, and I'm not going to play golf with a pro. Are you kidding me? And so that one year, Curtis Strange, of all the years, because we have heard a lot about Curtis Strange, about how he was Curtis Strange. He was a little difficult to deal with sometimes.
Yeah.
Had the most wonderful time. The first hole that we play, it's me, Al, Jay, and Curtis. Curtis pulls us aside before we tee off and tells the most god-awful, off-color, racist joke I have ever heard in my life. I can't even repeat it right here. I fell out laughing. It was the funniest thing I'd ever heard, not only because it was coming from him, but also hearing it come from him in this setting. And he goes, okay, I just wanted to see who I was playing with today, boys. And of course, Jay kind of walked off a little bit. Al was kind of smirking and looking down the ground. I was just falling out and laughing.
That's awesome.
And so we went and played golf that afternoon. That was on Thursday because they only played 3 rounds.
Yeah,
on the
Friday,
seniors, Friday,
yeah.
Saturday, and Sunday. And so that was on Thursday. And about 11 holes into it, I had to leave and go do a gig at, what the hell was the name of the place? Senior Frog. Senior Frog was the bar in Hoover. And I had to leave and go. I had been by 7 o'clock. And I said, listen, I got to leave. And he got so angry with me that I was leaving. He said, don't you ever leave in the middle of a round of golf again. He said, that is the rudest thing you could ever do to anybody. And I didn't know. He goes, you don't ever want to leave a round of golf. He goes, I understand you got to go. He said, but you're better off not playing at all. Just etiquette down the road. And I didn't realize that. I didn't realize. He goes, you'll never want to start playing. And then because that's where the magic happens. I said, I am so sorry. I said, obviously I'd stay if I could. So I left. I forget we came in third or whatever. So the next day is a Friday morning. And my son, Santo, who was, I guess, maybe 4 or 5 years old. I said, do you want to go out and watch some golf with me a little bit? And he said, sure. So we went out there. And we were right there on the corner of 9 and 10 out there at Greystone. And I was holding Santo, and Curtis was just getting on to 9, and they were putting in it. That round, the first round was on television. I don't know if it was on ESPN 1 or ESPN 2 is when they had some rights there with Greystone. And Curtis saw me from across the green and made a beeline all the way across the green to me and shook my little man's hand and said, "How you doing, buddy?" and talked to him. And one of the lifters was like, "Curtis, we got to go, man. We're this is a round of golf. This ain't the pro-am anymore, bro. We're playing golf here. We're on a timetable." He goes, "I'll be there in a minute. I'll be there in a minute." And of course, TV caught that. And I just thought that was the coolest thing. And for people to sit there and say Curtis Strange was kind of a rude individual after I left him on hole number 11. And then he went all the way across and was nice enough to say hello to me and my son. I'll just never forget that moment. And then of course, to win that trophy, second place for Jim Thorpe, was pretty amazing. So I've got I haven't been to Augusta yet. I want to go. I'm not going to say, because I have a lot of bucket list I want to do, and I still have 30 years to get it done. I wouldn't say it's a bucket list thing, but it's knocking on the door, my friend. It's right there.
Yeah, well, you will be so thankful, because I'm telling you, even watch it on TV after that, you just have such knowledge of where everything is and what it all really means. I mean, what they convey on TV is fabulous, but it's one of the great privileges of my life to be invited to go 4 different times. And
the amazing thing too, and I'll say this, I didn't mean to cut you off. The thing that's amazing too about that golf course is it's a private golf course. And very private. They do things their way. Yep. They always have. They don't answer to anybody, and that includes women, blacks. It doesn't matter. When they're ready, they're ready. And I know they caught a lot of flack on who they would allow to play and how long they'd be allowed to play and who's allowed to be on the golf course and who's allowed to even be around. And I know they had people, having rallies against them and everything else a few years back. They have always stood by. And listen, you may not like it, but I have a lot of respect for someone who stands by their principles, that will not bow or bend to anything if you truly believe that that's the right way to do it. And that goes for religions or anything else. As long as you're not hurting somebody, if you believe that's the way it is and you really believe that. And I mean, that's one place and because of that, I think a lot of people have a sincere respect for that golf course, and that's why they will answer to no one. And that's why it's so special to be there.
And in this day and age, to not be able to bring your phone out there, no pictures during the tournament. I mean, they are hardcore, and
no phone out there. No phone.
And people that earn you can only be accepted for membership with a referral from another member. And then there's a really rigid process to determine. One of the most satisfying things I saw the last time I was there, it was just about a year after they had welcomed her. Condoleezza Rice, the former Secretary of State of the United States, a remarkable woman from Birmingham, by the way, raised by a couple of teachers who rose to this amazing career. She's a concert pianist, a scratch golfer, by the way.
She was on the first CFP, right? Or the BCS when she won the first.
Yeah, she was on the first committee.
Yeah.
To see her we just happened to kind of cross paths with her right when we arrived, because the big clubhouse store is right by the clubhouse. You can only buy Masters merchandise at the Masters. You can't get it online.
And how much is pimento cheese sandwiches? How much are those?
$1.50. Pimento cheese or egg salad. Now, if you're hankering a ham and cheese, that's going to cost you $2. But the concession prices have never changed. A cold beer is like $3. I mean, it's just amazing. But to see Condoleezza Rice wearing her Masters green jacket, that's not just the champion of the tournament gets one. If you're a member, you wear your green jacket for any formal occasion at the course. To see Condoleezza Rice in her green jacket was awesome.
That is amazing, man. Thank you so much for bringing that up. I had no clue what you were going to talk about today, and I kind of freak out because I like to be prepared for everything I do, and I don't. My brain knowledge is not what yours is, where you can go back and just nitpicking things from the 30s and 40s and yesterday and stuff. I'm still working through some things. Maybe it's my early on dementia. I'm not sure what's going on, but I love talking about it. And I wasn't sure I was going to get an opportunity to talk about golf with anybody because we hadn't done any sports. I was on Fox 6 actually this morning a little bit. We were talking about some things going on in the world of rock and roll. It was 62 years ago today that the Rolling Stones met the Beatles for the first time, which I thought was 1963 at a club in London called the Crawdaddy. Boy. And the Beatles walked in while the Rolling Stones were doing a set in 1963. And all the Beatles had long leather black jackets on. And Mick said to himself, I want one of those jackets. I'm going to learn how to write better music. I want to have a jacket like the Beatles. And this was Mick Jagger, the Rolling Stones in 1963. We were talking about that a little bit earlier today, but I didn't know where you were going to go today. I can certainly talk about golf all the time. So thank you for bringing that up. I appreciate that. We got a great week coming up. Of course, our big show going on Saturday mornings, ABC 3340. We're going to be getting after it again. Legends, of course, going to be there. We had a fantastic show this past week. We missed you, but we'll look forward to having you back in there on Saturday. We'll get after it. And it won't be long, my friend. We have all the football showcases. No spring games this year. Everyone's having showcases. So we'll have those showcases, and before you too long, we will know exactly what we're looking like. We'll find out who our quarterbacks are through NIL and everything else. Very interesting story with a Tennessee quarterback situation. I was kind of happy to see that go. So we got a lot to talk about this week. So be ready, my friend. That's for sure. And I look forward to talking about that subject because everything that happens, like all of a sudden, Nico Imovaleva just up and leaving Tennessee because they would not renegotiate his deal. Anybody who thinks until we have a contractual, recognizable contract, this is going to happen all the time because it's just basically a handshake agreement. And if the quarterback gets fed up or anybody gets fed up, they have complete freedom of movement. So it's a fascinating subject. And listen, I don't want to hear anybody out there saying, wait a minute, they offered him, was it $1.2 million, I believe. And he said he wasn't going to play for less than $4 million. I don't know if anyone offered him $4 million, but if you know you can get $4 million and people are like, oh my gosh, he shouldn't be making anything. He should just be happy to be a Tennessee quarterback. No, don't be telling an 18, 19, 20-year-old the difference between $1.2 million and $4 million is a lifetime for many people. Some people won't even make that in their lifetime. So if he can feel like he can get $4 million and he wants to move on, those are the rules. He's playing by those rules. So be it. A national title won't pay for the rent. It'll certainly be a nice shiny ring, but if he thinks he can get $4 million, good for him. But that is certainly a slap in the face to Tennessee that obviously gave him the platform, certainly in the SEC, to make it shine. We'll see where he gets picked up if in fact he does. Yes. Tennessee's defense was, we had an agreement. We had an $8 million package for him to come here. Well, guess what happened last year, right after the season? LSU had an agreement with a quarterback named Holloway from California, just like Nico. Michigan guaranteed him a $20 million package just a year after Nico's record-breaking $8 million package. So, I mean, if Tony, if you had a verbal agreement with a company and said, okay, Ty, we're going to pay you $8 million, and you see a guy that you know that and you're already established that's coming in sight unseen, we're going to give you 20 million. Aren't you going to react kind of negatively to that? This guy's making 12 million more than you in just the space of a year. Going to be really interesting. And never taking a snap. Going to be really interesting to see what our good friend Kai Gregory, who's a huge Tennessee fan, has to say about that. He does a show. We have a show called K4 Wins, which we do on Friday. And of course, there's all kinds of plays. You go K4 Wins. We do a lot of stuff around here. K4wins.com, K4wins.com to get free plays up every single day. You can subscribe to the website, K4wins.com. K4Wins.com. But he's a huge Tennessee fan, so we'll see what his thoughts are on Nico and what this college football season is going to look like. Because when you have a guy like that and you think he's coming back and you got a done deal, all of a sudden your ambassador, your leader, your chief is no longer on your football team, it probably is going to take a little bit to fill his shoes.
Well, new daddy Case will be back this week. Of course, as always, he cleaned up yesterday on the Masters with Rory's win.
I'll bet he did. I know he had Rory on the board for sure.
One real quick thing right before we go. We're at the Golden Knights game the other night. He's not there. Of course, he's home with the baby, but I've got King and my grandson and my other son, Clayton, his girlfriend, and my ex-bride, Kathy, Grandma Kiki. We're all at the game. And this guy named Alexander Holt scores a goal for the Golden Knights. He only had 3 goals all year. For some reason, Case Keefer, as he's making his handicapping decisions, although he's a new dad, he didn't stop playing this weekend. He bet $50 that Alexander Holt would score a goal in the game and got $450 back.
Wow.
How he comes up with this stuff, Tony, I have no idea. The kid's a wizard.
That's amazing. Well, you can get all of his wizardry. All you got to do is watch our television show or listen to our podcast, K4Wins.com, or the starting lineup, and you get him every single week. He does. You cannot pay him anything. He'll give you his place free from here until the day he's done. So great stuff.
Yep.
All right, we'll catch up later this week, my friend. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony.
This has been a special presentation of Tony Curry Radio.